What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nasha. Welcome back to the channel. And with the fallout from Survivor Series last night, there's actually a little bit to talk about, including the latest on what the future holds for the Undertaker following his farewell address last night at Survivor Series. Speaking of that, we found out that a WWE Hall of Famer was backstage reportedly at Survivor Series, and also the Bella Twins on a possible return to WWE. And we also have this first one here that I'm going to be talking about, where a WWE star, a Raw star, talks about missing NXT, but she claims that it says it's time to move on. And if you haven't guessed of who it is none other than Shayna Baszler. She admits that she misses NXT, but it is now time for her to move on. So hang on a second. Sorry about that, guys. I had to fix my chair. Anyway, so shoutouts to Tempest from Wrestle Talk for this article. Many people who have worked in NXT have talked about how different it is. The underground vibe of Full Sail University is always going to be different from the WWE main roster, and that is a change that makes some miss NXT. Shayna Baszler is the latest to discuss this. Baszler recently spoke with WWE's Kayla Braxton, where she talked about missing the energy of NXT. She mentioned the energy of the brand, but also said it was time to move on. Here's a quote courtesy of Fightful. And I believe this is what Shayna said. She said, quote, "When you watch Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, there's a certain aura energy that each show kind of specifically has on its own. There's this kind of gritty energy that NXT has, you know? And it is something that I miss, but I ruled that division, and so it was time to move on. If you want to keep fresh, you got to do stuff like that. Even if it seems like it sucks. It's like graduating high school. It sucked, kind of, but you have to do it." Shayna Baszler joined the main roster back earlier this year, back in February, after losing her NXT Women's title to Rhea Ripley. And she appeared on Raw to start a feud with Becky Lynch, obviously back in February. Yeah, so honestly, this really doesn't surprise me. I know that Andrade has admitted that he missed NXT. Obviously, Ember Moon has missed NXT. Excuse me, and even also Ember Moon went back to NXT just recently. I think it was like right during NXT TakeOver 31, actually, where we saw Io Shirai. Where's my book at? Where, if I remember correctly, where she actually defeated Candice LeRae obviously to retain the NXT Women's Championship, literally going against all odds with Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, the referee being taken out. Even with all that, Io Shirai, even now to this day, is still the NXT Women's Champion, which is awesome. But you know what? Honestly, though, this doesn't surprise me, given the fact that Shayna Baszler, as she says, she dominated NXT with an iron fist, completely terrorizing the entire division. And with her second reign as NXT Women's Champion, she held the title for well over 400 days, which is absolutely incredible. That was until, I think, that was until Rhea Ripley took the title off of her back in what was it? Back in December? Yeah, I believe it was right around right around back in December of last year. So I would say right around this time last year. So honestly, but now Shayna, she's currently one half of the women's tag team champions alongside Nia Jax, and those two are going to be very dominant, to say the very least. But the big question is, will anybody take the titles off of them? Well, that brings me to my next article here. Shoutouts to Tempest for this article, because apparently the Bella Twins, they want the women's tag titles. So shoutouts to Tempest for this article. This was posted 20 hours ago, so I would say just yesterday. So it says here, last week the Bella Twins spoke about possibly returning to WWE while they didn't give up any specifics. They indicated that they wanted the women's tag team titles, and now they have clarified. In a video posted on their YouTube channel, the Bellas cleared up their previous comments. They ensured fans that any potential return would not be happening imminently, as they both want to maximize their return as well as spend time with their new kids. Here's what Bree said, courtesy of Wrestling Inc. Now, if I can get to the... Can I scroll? I can scroll. Okay. So, Brie Bella said, quote, we do really want to make a return. The timeline of it, we don't know when. A couple of mistakes I did with Birdie on a couple of my comebacks is Birdie was so little. You're sleep deprived. You're trying to train. You're trying to be a mom, so it can be really hard. I like to wait until the boys are like 2 years... until the boys are like 2 years old or something like that. I see us making a comeback in a couple of years, or maybe it's next year. I don't know, but it's not next month. Nikki Bella also commented on a possible return, saying that they had too much on their plate in 2018, saying, quote, it would have to be our main focus, because when we came back for Evolution, we were running 3 companies. We were filming a reality TV show. We had so much fun. We had so much on our plate. Bree had Birdie, and we just said the comeback didn't get its full attention from us that we wanted to have. So we're gonna make sure on that too. The Bellas have not been in WWE since Evolution in 2018. Prior to the pandemic, they were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Okay, so I swear these ads are being stupid. So they were supposed to have been inducted into the Hall of Fame prior to the pandemic, but given the fact that we couldn't host the Hall of Fame ceremony, I believe, from what I understand, apparently they're going to add a member of the Warrior Award for next year's WrestleMania weekend, which could potentially have obviously the current inductees, which I think are the NWO, the Bellas, Jushin Thunder Liger. I think JBL was in there as well. And then originally it was supposed to have been Batista being inducted into the Hall of Fame as well, but unfortunately that did not come to pass because he actually refused. He actually refused to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think I've mentioned that before. But as far as why, I don't know. Maybe he is waiting for Evolution, the whole group Evolution to get into the Hall of Fame, which is a possibility, but only time will tell. But as far as the Bellas, honestly, it's way too soon. Even if their kids turn like 2, 3, maybe 4 years old or something like that, even if that's the case, it would still be too soon. And I really don't see the Bellas, coming back anytime soon. I know that there are a lot of people that believe that they shouldn't be back in the Hall of Fame. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But you know what? But you know what though? Question of the day. Question of the day: should the Bellas challenge for the women's tag team titles? Let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. Honestly, I don't think so. I think they've done their part in WWE. I think their time's come. I think their time has come to just retire, from being in wrestling and just focus on their lives as parents. In my personal opinion. All right, you guys. Shoutouts to Louise Zangor for this article. Yes, Edge was reportedly backstage at Survivor Series last night. So shoutouts to Louise Zangor again. Several WWE stars of the past appeared in the ring at Survivor Series last night for the Undertaker's final farewell segment, and it has emerged that another Hall of Famer was backstage at the show, but didn't appear on the broadcast. According to PW Insider, former WWE champion and current Raw star, yes, if you can believe, yes, so crazy to this day, Edge was backstage at the Amway Center for Survivor Series last night. At this time, it is unclear why Edge was at the venue. So apparently, yeah. So since here, Hall of Famer Edge was backstage, but didn't appear on screen. Some have speculated that WWE may have not put Edge on camera for the Undertaker retirement, saying it because he is currently injured following his match with Randy Orton at Backlash back in June. With regards to other people backstage at Survivor Series last night who didn't appear on screen, PW Insider is also reporting that Undertaker's wife Michelle McCool was also at the Amway Center along with other family members for the show. If any reports emerged with potentially explaining that WWE brought Edge to the Amway Center for Survivor Series last night, even though he didn't appear. So if I had to guess, I would have to say that they're probably hyping him up. They're probably I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. So if you guys remember back at Backlash, I actually if I remember right, because I actually did that one. Money in the Bank, Takeover, here it is. Yeah, and I find it so crazy. I find it crazy that this was the first time in my career as a YouTuber, after doing these videos for over 5 years, I find it bizarre that I was calling a match with Edge in it, which is that's bizarre. But yeah, so obviously the card for Backlash, we had Edge versus Orton in the greatest wrestling match ever. We had Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. We had Braun Strowman versus Miz and Morrison for the Universal title in a handicap match. We had Asuka versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's title. Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. Sasha Banks and Bayley versus the Iconics, and against Bliss and Cross for the women's tag titles. We had Apollo Crews versus Andrade for the United States title, and of course the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders for the Raw tag titles. Back when the Street Profits were on SmackDown, back on Raw. But unfortunately, that match ended in a no contest. That actually never took place. Because they were literally beating the hell out of each other throughout the entire Performance Center. But the match involving Edge and Orton, that actually lasted a pretty good while, and we hadn't seen Edge since Backlash. But as far as why, I think they're probably hyping him up for another potential match for WrestleMania this coming March, which is a very high possibility. But given the fact that Edge still has a torn tricep injury, my guess is that they could potentially again, it could be a hype for a possible return, but given the fact that Randy Orton is still is still dealing with Drew McIntyre over the WWE Championship, so to speak, it's a possibility that Edge could very well get involved, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. But with that being said, speaking of the Undertaker, apparently the Undertaker has no idea what the future holds for him. In terms of after Survivor Series. Oh wait, hang on a second, guys. Hang on one second. Because I believe... Doesn't even know... Hang on. Nope, that was the wrong article. Alright, so apparently... apparently there's been potential... There's been some rumors as to what would be next for The Undertaker following Survivor Series, but no one really knows. Now, if I can find the right article, I can't fucking find it. No, stop, you. Thank you. I swear my laptop is being so stupid. Alright, well, apparently oh, here it is. Backstage update on... Okay, so, here it is. Finally, I found it. So, the big question is, what does the future hold for The Undertaker following Survivor Series last night? There's a lot that needs to be said from this article. Shout outs to Andy Murray from What Culture for this article. Stop. So Andy Murray writes in this article, he writes, "Stop us if you think that you've heard this one before, but the WWE locker room believes that last night's Survivor Series really was The Undertaker." Okay, seriously? No. Thank you. Really was The Undertaker's final farewell. This is according to WrestlingNews.co's Paul Davis, who spoke to several people within the promotion shortly after the show. Davis noted that the general belief is that Vince McMahon won't ask Undertaker to ever wrestle again. While it is thought that the WWE chairman and CEO found it difficult to let go for the character, he understands that it is finally time for the 55-year-old to say goodbye to the square circle. Thus, many feel like the final farewell is going to stick. Some wrestlers just did quote, never say never, which is understandable. This is professional wrestling. Retirements don't stick in professional wrestling, so the dead man's would be an anomaly. If he's able to stay away for good, his last bout would be the Boneyard match against AJ Styles at WrestleMania this past April. It is noted that not everyone backstage is convinced that Undertaker will be able to stay away, particularly when Saudi Arabian shows are back on the table. Still, for now, Taker is officially done. Okay, so yeah, so obviously, we might see that. We may see The Undertaker return. This really does surprise me. Again, as that article said, it is WWE. It is professional wrestling. Nothing is forever. Never say never. It is possible that he could return. But as far as his future goes, if I was in the shoes of The Undertaker and I had to find that out for myself, I would probably do a little bit of traveling, maybe do a little hiking, climb mountains and whatnot. I would probably do that. But again, knowing that article, knowing what that article said, it is possible we may see the Undertaker return. I know that he's done everything that there is to do in WWE. He's won the WWE Championship on multiple occasions. He's won the tag team titles on multiple occasions with multiple people, including guys like The Rock, Big Show, Stone Cold, and even Kane as well. Excuse me. And not only that, but he's also won the Royal Rumble match in 2007, and he even also became the only man in history to hold the WWE Hardcore Championship for well over a month, which is insane. But honestly, it's hard to say what the future holds for the Undertaker, but at this point, anything can happen. Of course, now with Survivor Series behind us, we actually now put our focus on NXT Takeover War Games, which does not surprise me because we have 2 War Games matches. We have Team Blackheart versus Team LeRae, and then of course Team McAfee versus the Undisputed Era. And not only that, but we're also putting our focus on TLC as well, which given the fact that Drew McIntyre lost last night to Roman Reigns, which was if you guys saw that result video from last night, I highly recommend you watch it. Just trust me. Watch it for yourselves, and you will know what I mean. By the fact that the way that last match ended was just absolute BS. But given that fact, one can only imagine what, or rather who, will challenge Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. It could very may well be MVP, given the fact that the Hurt Business are still after the Raw Tag Team titles, which is currently being held by the New Day, which it's a possibility, but only time will tell. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Again, be sure to answer the question of the day: should the Bellas challenge for the women's tag team titles? Let me know in the comments below. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. And if you guys are new to the channel and you guys love seeing these types of news videos for WWE and for YuGiOh, definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are down in the description below. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.